Hello boxing fans, right now I'm talking about how to make boxing better, and I'm going to start with the very basics, and this is domestically how to make British boxing better. And you see, the problem is that this week we all know now that Adam Smith and Sky Sports have dropped Ricky Hatton and Frank Maloney. Now, they both have a load of boxers on their cards. Some people you do know, like David Price, Scott Quigg, Randall Munro. They're just three off the top of my head that are at the top of the domestic pile, and from now on they will not be shown on Sky Sports News. And I've realised that this is actually a national predicament that we're in. It's a real conundrum because boxing is really not getting pushed in the news right now, and we need the media to push this to make it a better sport. The local media, especially in my area, are really trying to push cricket right now. And I used to be quite good at cricket, let me tell you. I was actually quite decent, except it was one of the most boring sports I've ever played. And now, one of the main problems is, and I'm just going to sum it up to you with this little story. This is no longer than a week old. I decided to email a local paper of mine that I know doesn't actually cover that much boxing, and I wondered why. I sent them a really nice email. In fact, I'll actually read it out to you. In fact, wait a second while I get up before and I'll read it out. So this is the email that I wrote to them. I'm gonna cover up all the names of the boxers and the paper and the editor of the paper, because to be honest, the paper doesn't deserve any advertisement here, and any type of advertising, even bad publicity, is good publicity for them. So I'm not going to say their name, but this is the email. I said, and I'm just going to read it out now. The purpose of this email is to tell you that I'm a local resident in the area and formerly of the area. I'm an aspiring boxing writer, immense fan of the sport, and I do read your paper. I think the paper is very important in pushing local issues. I do enjoy the sport pages and notice the local teams, cricket teams, and etc. are all very well reported on. However, I was unhappy with the local sporting report in the week before and after a certain date. This date may not mean much to you, but this was the date when a local boxer named fought an Italian boxer for the IBO lightweight title. Maybe you do not have sporting reporters that follow the sport of boxing, or maybe your paper does not think boxing fits into its agenda. However, later in this month, that same boxer fights again for a unification battle involving two domestic titles. Really, the purpose of this email is to offer you my services so that your local paper can support the local boxers, and obviously this is free of charge. Now, the email I got back from them was slightly different. You see, they were happy to cover the fight, and they give me a deadline of 3 days to come up with an article, which I was happy to do. I did it in 2. Next, they kept coming forward with more and more problems. They needed to know exactly where he lived. I was like, come on, I don't know exactly where he lived. They're on, where does he live exactly now? And I was telling them, well, he trains out of Glasgow now, but he is still living in Liverpool. And they just kept coming forward with different problems. I gave them the exact address, and they were then saying, we're not sure if we should cover it because even though they are a Liverpool paper, they have different areas that they cover, and they didn't know if that was one of the areas they were covering, And I was saying, it's a Liverpool paper, come on. If you don't want to cover the fight, just say you don't want to cover the fight. And in the end, they said, basically, because it was it was sort of outside of their jurisdiction, they didn't want to cover the fight. Now, let me just say, outside of your jurisdiction, he's a Liverpool fighter, you're a Liverpool paper, that's enough jurisdiction for you. I'm going to complain to that paper next time they bring anything into it that's from outside of that area. I promise you that. But I'm just sort of gobsmacked about the total lack of respect for the boxer that is from Liverpool, and they just don't want to cover him. Now, unfortunately, this is echoed in the national media too. More recently, obviously, there was the droppage of Maloney and Hatton promotions from Sky. And I just don't see where they go short term from there, I mean, ITV, I'm not sure if they're interested. I don't see how narrowing the competition is going to make the fights better. It's not. It's not going to mean that they're going to work together more often. In fact, it means they'll be work together less. Also, they've dropped the number of actual fights that they can show in the year. Boxing on Sky has went from 40 fights in the year, 40 shows they'll put on, that down to 20. They've halved it. Adam Smith, I do not agree with. I think he's helping to destroy boxing. He's not a boxing fan. There's no advertisement of the boxing either. If you want to get good numbers, you advertise it. There's no advertisement at all of boxing. I think the British Boxing Board of Control need to step in. They need to try and make some, real boxing advertisements to go on the sports channels. They don't up to now. There's very little, advertisement of boxing as a sport on any of the sport channels, local or national. And right now Sky have got no reason to plug boxing. They have no competitors. Look at the only competitor they have right now is Box Nation, which is a actual subscription boxing channel. Only hardcore boxing fans will subscribe to it. And also Channel 5, who only cover like 3 or 4 fighters. So I'm not sure that they are worthy competition right now. I do understand that next year BT are opening up their own sports channel. Maybe they will be a good competitor, and maybe Hatton Promotions could get in with them. That's a possibility. Maybe Maloney too. I think that would be best for everyone. I also do understand that that new BT sports channel have secured the right to some of the good football matches, some real good football matches for next season. This is just my thoughts, and I want to hear your thoughts on how to increase British boxing as a sport. But here's my ones. I've got strong advertisement. The most basic way to grow the sport is to tell people it's happening. Focus on young up and coming prospects. People that the youth today can relate with. You got to have short, explosive advertisements informing people of when bouts are happening, who the boxers are, and show them a load of KOs. You need to get them really interested. I think that the return of terrestrial TV boxing would be very good. I think that in order for the sport to grow, you need to get as many people as possible watching it. The people that are definitely not tapped into are the student audience, and basically the people who are too stingy to buy Sky. I think that if you put it on channel ITV or channel 5, I think that there'll be a lot more people who'll be willing to watch it. You could also get good advertisement sales, that's the actual TV channels, because there's always going to be people watching it, and these are the channels that have good advertisement deals. I think that you can increase the competitive matches by increasing the payment based on the figures that are drawn. I don't know exactly how it works right now with the amount of money that Sky pay out, and if there's increases with the amount of people that they draw. I think that'll be a good thing that could happen. Also, I agree with the what was it? I agree with what UFC are doing right now. I think it's UFC or MMA in general, where they are giving out good amounts of money to the fighters involved if they happen to be the best fight on the night. I think that could be a very good thing that could happen in British boxing. And also, there's also needs to be more TV stations. There does need to be more competition on TV stations to get the best matches. I think that basically the more TV stations that are willing to show the boxing, the more the amount to pay, the more amount of people that will watch. I think it's all interlinked. I do not think that cutting the amount of boxing shows, I do not think cutting the amount of promotional teams that you're willing to cover will increase competitiveness. Just will not happen. The only thing that's going to happen is you're going to put a few boxing companies out of business. You're going to get all the boxers in one big conglomerate. If that is Matchroom, then that is Matchroom. And it doesn't actually mean that they're going to do anything. It doesn't mean that they're going to fight better fights, because they still don't have any right to. There's no draw to put the best two people into the ring together. If you're still offering the same amount of money, the only thing is you're showing them on Sky. It just doesn't ring any bells to me that, you know, they have to. What's the point? Maybe you guys could help me out with trying to understand it. I don't know. So what do you guys think? How could you personally increase the competitiveness of British boxing? How would you grow the stature of British boxing? You guys tell me. Another thing I've just thought of at the end right now, what happens if, you know, after the Olympics, every single one of the Olympic team sign for either Hatton Promotions or Maloney's promotional team? You know, Sky won't be showing them. Would that be a bad idea for Sky? What happens if, let's say, ITV or BBC picked up all of their fights? I think that would be a good thing that could happen. You know, I'm not sure that Matchroom are the best promotional team out there, you know. They're the ones who bring us Prize Fighter, and I don't mind Prize Fighter, but, you know, look at the competition, it's not brilliant. And Sky is saying that they want better competition. You know, hypocrisy maybe?